Hi, my name is Jeff, and I created Skill Builder, and I wanted to use this video to explain what Skill Builder is as a learning platform and how it's different from any other site out there to inform people and see if anyone is interested that they can always connect with me. So I have an engineering background. I graduated about 13 years ago, and I've also been doing martial arts a long time. I've been teaching it for about 12 years. And I've learned a lot through the martial arts more actually, how to teach and how people learn in a more quick and effective way and how people absorb information. And I've noticed that most of the ways that we learn today are not effective for learning well. So it could be an hour in a classroom, it could be a video webinar that's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, or hours long, whatever it is. People have very short attention spans. They're often tuning out by a minute into it. And there's a very low level of retention of information for things like that. The same thing goes for when reading a book. So all of these have very short levels of retention, and one of the biggest reasons for this, I've noticed, is that the way people learn is by small bits of information, piece by piece. You take one bit of information, you repeat, and then you go on to the next one, then the next one, the next one. As opposed to by getting large sums of information, that's how people typically don't retain it, and it gets forgotten, or they tune out, or what have you. And another big factor is that people typically teach in the form of theory, and then it's up to the learner to try to take the theory and dissect it into actionable steps to take. And the reason this doesn't work very well is because there's a very small percentage of people who can take information like that and dissect it into steps properly. And because of that, what you end up getting is a situation where people are adding steps to the process that shouldn't happen, and they're missing steps in the process. And what this leads to is something that could realistically be learned in an hour or two could take months or years to learn, because people get really good and spend months getting good at the mistakes. And then once those habits are formed, it's really hard to even break them afterwards as well. So what I'm doing with Skill Builder is I'm meeting with people who are experts in different domains, who've really mastered the ins and outs of the skill set, because usually to get to that point, you've made all the mistakes and you figured out how to do it right. And you figured out how to do it right at each and every step of the process. And you've repeated it successfully over and over again, and ideally taught it to other people, because you learn more when you teach to other people. And what this does is, very much like a choose-your-own-adventure story, which Skill Builder is like a choose-your-own-adventure story mixed with a learning experience. And what it allows us to do is map out sort of a story to take the person through step by step of how to do it right, and also how to not do it wrong, which is just as important, maybe even more important, because in any skill you learn, there's a few ways of doing it right, and there's a million ways of doing it wrong. And if you're doing any of those wrong ways, it's going to take you a very long time. So the idea is to map it out and give the learner a clear idea of what the right path is and why it's right, and the wrong paths and why they're wrong, so that they can learn. And you have a situation here where it's even more effective than one-on-one training, because when you're coaching someone one-on-one, you can't read their mind in real time. So if they have a bad idea that's coming to mind of something that they're planning on doing, you can't tell that they're thinking that, and you can't course correct them in real time. But this way, they can actually learn that in real time, and they get set on the right path. So it actually provides a condensed learning experience where they can learn faster than they would with you even in a one-on-one. And it's a very strong business value, because as the coach, the trainer, the person teaching it, you can now do this at scale. And this allows for scalable teaching. So what I mean by scalable teaching is something that's very commonly misunderstood. People think that when you have a webinar online or something, that it's scalable. But if 1,000 people watch or purchase that, that means that there's probably 1,000 people who are going to have tons of questions that are going to need a follow-up from you. And that means that those 1,000 people will turn into 1,000 one-on-ones, right? But if you think about it, that's not good, because that's you trading your time for money, and that's not efficient. So to me, the only thing that's really scalable is software. So if you have 1,000 users on a software platform and you need to get to 1,000,000, then you don't need to multiply your man hours, your time by 1,000 in order to do that, you just upgrade the server, right? So if you apply the similar concept to learning, then the way that you do that is you make it so that which is not a simple thing to do, that's part of our process of creating the content in terms of Skill Builder, but ideally what you want to do is you want to make it so that it takes 0 minutes of your time to perfectly teach it to people. And as soon as you can achieve that, it gets very interesting, because then you could teach 1,000,000 people as easily as you can teach 10. And then if you're selling something for $100 and there's 1,000,000 people purchasing, it's $100 million. It's quite a bit of money compared to getting 1,000 people to purchase something for $99 and then trying to book them for 1,000 one-on-one sessions. It's not scalable. So that's the idea of what I'm trying to do with Skill Builder, and I'm looking for experts in different domains with strong skill sets that are teachable, with a clear process or methodology of how to do it right, so we can partner together, create these scalable teaching products, if you will, these lessons, workshops, what have you, and then market it at scale. That's what I'm trying to do. It's very important that the individuals that I'm working with have been doing it a long time, have taught many people, and can get endorsements from people that vouch for their success and their ability and their understanding of how to do this properly. So just let me give you one example of this. So I'm working with one individual. His name is Matt Shearer. And what he does is he's helped roughly 10,000 veterans transitioning from the military into civilian life, about 10,000, very large number over the last 9 years. And what he does is he helps optimize their LinkedIn profiles for that process, and he's achieved some excellent results. So the way I pitched him, the way I got him excited about working with me, is he spent all that time getting 10,000 people. But imagine if it was scalable, right? So you have about 200 veterans in the United States that are transitioning every single year. And imagine if, through our partnership and creating a scalable teaching system on Skill Builder, if he can help all 200,000 of them properly, immediately, and within 1 day of transitioning, they will have their LinkedIn profile optimized so that they're getting tons of attention from HR recruiters and so on. So this suddenly allows all that, instead of him having to spend all that time with each individual person, which he's passionate about and he enjoys, but now he can help so many more people at scale, so that not only is the impact, the revenue it has such this fantastic component to it, but the impact he can make by helping everybody is so huge just because of this scalability factor. And that's the same kind of thing as I want to apply for each expert I'm working with in their respective domain of expertise.